It was a conflict defined by desert heat and the efficiency of modern steel. From classic sidearms to tactical rifles, here is every firearm carried into battle during the Gulf War.
First up, handguns, pistols, Beretta M9.
After decades with the M1911, the US military adopted this 9mm as its standard sidearm, just years before Desert Storm began.
Colt M 1911A1.
Still holstered by pilots, special operators, and officers during Desert Storm, despite being officially replaced. 70 years old and still trusted. Browning High Power, carried by British forces and found throughout the Iraqi military simultaneously. Few pistols have ever served so many opposing sides in the same conflict.
Macminal 1950.
The standard sidearm of French forces during Operation Daguet. It served quietly throughout the Gulf War's 100-hour ground campaign. Tariq, Iraq's domestically produced sidearm, built on an Italian design and issued to officers throughout the Republican Guard and regular army. Next, Beretta M 1951, the Italian design that the Tariq was copied from. The original version was widespread among Iraqi forces, alongside the domestic variant. Now this is the Helwan, an Egyptian copy of the Beretta M 1951, captured in significant numbers when coalition forces overran Iraqi positions during the ground offensive. Makarov PM. Decades of Soviet military aid to Iraq meant this compact pistol was everywhere among Iraqi officers when coalition forces entered Kuwait. TT-33 Tokarev, an older Soviet design still common among Iraqi forces. Its high-velocity round could defeat some body armor of the early 1990s. CZ-75, found among special operations personnel from multiple coalition nations, who selected it privately for its outstanding ergonomics and consistent accuracy. Sig Sauer P226, the chosen sidearm of US Navy SEALs throughout Desert Storm. It was selected specifically because it outperformed every other pistol in reliability testing. Smith & Wesson Model 15. Air Force Security Police still carried this revolver during Desert Storm, representing the final operational use of service revolvers in the American military. Next on the list is submachine guns. Heckler & Koch MP5, the submachine gun of choice for special operations units across the coalition. It cleared Iraqi positions in Kuwait City, building by building. Sterling submachine gun, still in British service during Desert Storm, despite its age. That distinctive side-mounted magazine made it instantly recognizable among coalition forces. PM-63 RAK, a Polish-designed compact weapon found among Iraqi vehicle crews who needed something smaller than a rifle in the cramped confines of armored vehicles. Moving on to assault rifles and battle rifles. M16A1, officially replaced but still carried by Reserve and National Guard units during Desert Storm. Some soldiers went to war with rifles that predated them by decades. M16A2, the primary US service rifle of Desert Storm. Its 3-round burst mode and heavier barrel were designed for exactly the kind of sustained desert combat that followed. Now this is the Colt Kar-15. Special Operations Forces carried this shortened rifle through the vast Iraqi desert, its compact length critical for operators working from vehicles and helicopters. Now this is the Colt Model 727, used by Special Forces units who needed something between the full-length M16 and the very short CAR-15 for operations across the Iraqi theater. M14, pulled from storage and issued to designated marksmen who needed more range than the M16A2 could provide across the flat, open desert terrain. L85A1. British troops carried it into Kuwait, but the fine desert sand exposed every weakness in its design. It became one of the most criticized weapons of the war. L1A1 SLR, still carried by some British reservists during Desert Storm, alongside the L85. Veterans who had carried it for years trusted it far more than the newer bullpup. Then, FAMAS F1, French Foreign Legion, and paratroopers carried this into the Iraqi desert during Operation Daguet, its bullpup design suited to the fast-moving ground campaign. Steyr AUG, Australian and other coalition special forces brought this polymer bullpup to the Gulf. Its integrated optic gave it an advantage over iron-sighted alternatives. Heckler & Koch G3. Decades of Iraqi arms imports meant this German battle rifle was common throughout their forces. Coalition soldiers captured thousands of them during the ground advance. FN-FAL. Carried by multiple coalition nations across the Gulf, its powerful rifle round proved its worth in a theater where engagements often opened at long range. Next, AK-47. The original version was less common than its descendants by 1991, but Iraqi forces still carried it. The desert sand that defeated other rifles barely slowed it down. AKM, the most widely carried rifle in the Iraqi military during Desert Storm. Soviet arms supplies over decades ensured it was everywhere from the Republican Guard to the rear echelon. Type 56 assault rifle. China supplied Iraq with enormous quantities before the war. Coalition forces identified it instantly by the permanently attached folding bayonet beneath the barrel. Then, PM-MD-63, Romanian arms exports reached Iraq in significant numbers before the invasion of Kuwait. That distinctive wooden vertical foregrip made it stand out among captured weapons. Now this is the Zastava M70. Yugoslav arms found throughout the Iraqi military reflected decades of non-aligned arms trading. Its heavier receiver made it more durable than many AK variants. Tabuk assault rifle. Iraq built its own AK variant domestically to arm the largest military force in the Arab world. Coalition forces captured them by the hundreds of thousands. VZ-58. Czechoslovak exports reached Iraq before the war and confused many soldiers who assumed it was just another AK. Inside, it operates on an entirely different mechanism. SKS. Older than the AKM and found in Iraqi second-line and reserve units, it remained a functional weapon in the hands of soldiers who had carried it for years. Next up, sniper and marksman rifles. M24 sniper weapon system. Fielded just 2 years before Desert Storm, US Army snipers used it to engage Iraqi positions across distances the desert terrain made possible and deadly. M21 sniper weapon system. Semi-automatic precision gave American marksmen the ability to engage multiple targets rapidly, a significant advantage when Iraqi positions were dense and close together. Barrett M82A1. Marines used it to detonate Iraqi mines and disable parked aircraft from ranges that kept the operator completely safe. The Gulf War made its reputation permanent. Up next, L96A1. British snipers relied on it throughout Desert Storm. The flat desert terrain turned every engagement into a long-range problem, which was exactly what this rifle solved. FRF2. French snipers deployed it during Operation Daguerre. Its thermal barrel shroud maintained accuracy in the extreme desert heat that distorted metal on unshielded rifles. Next, Tabuk sniper rifle. Iraq extended the Tabuk design into a longer-barreled marksman variant to give infantry squads reach beyond what the standard assault rifle could manage. Al-Qadesi sniper rifle. An Iraqi domestically developed precision rifle that resembled the SVD but was a distinct design. It represented Iraq's effort to reduce dependence on foreign arms. Dragunov SVD. Soviet supplied to Iraq in large numbers. It was the primary precision weapon of Iraqi designated marksmen throughout the Kuwait occupation and the ground war. PSL. Romanian exports supplied Iraqi forces with this AK-scaled marksman rifle. Soldiers unfamiliar with it often mistook it for the Soviet SVD it was designed to resemble. Zastava M76. Yugoslav arms sales brought this 8mm marksman rifle to Iraqi forces before the war. Its powerful cartridge gave it range and terminal effect beyond most competitors. Continuing with machine guns, M249 SAW. Introduced to US infantry just before the Gulf War, it gave every squad automatic fire without the weight of older machine guns in the desert advance. M60, Vietnam-era machine gun still present in the Gulf War, on vehicle mounts and with some infantry units. Heavy but proven across decades of American military service. FN-MAG, the standard general-purpose machine gun across British, French, and dozens of other coalition forces during Desert Storm. Few weapons served so many flags simultaneously. Browning M2HB, mounted on Humvees, tanks, and helicopters throughout Desert Storm. Designed in the 1920s, it dominated the Gulf battlefield 70 years later without modification. L86A1 LSW. Issued to British section gunners during Desert Storm, its reliability problems in the desert made it one of the more controversial weapons the British Army fielded. Now this is the AAT-52, the standard French general-purpose machine gun during Operation Daguerre. Its unusual delayed blowback mechanism set it apart from every other design on the battlefield. RPD. An older Soviet light machine gun found in Iraqi second-line units. Decades of Middle Eastern arms imports ensured it was still present in the Gulf War. RPK, the squad automatic weapon of Iraqi infantry, sharing ammunition with the AKM carried by every soldier alongside it. That commonality made resupply straightforward. Up next, Zastava M72. The Yugoslav RPK variant was present in Iraqi inventory through pre-war arms deals. Its finned barrel handled the desert heat during sustained fire better than most. PKM, the primary Soviet general-purpose machine gun supplied to Iraq in large numbers. Coalition forces captured stockpiles of them when Iraqi defensive positions were overrun. Zastava M84. The Yugoslav PKM variant reached Iraq through pre-war arms channels. Another example of how Yugoslavia's non-aligned status made it a supplier to all sides. DSHK, mounted on Iraqi tanks, armored vehicles and bunkers throughout Kuwait and southern Iraq. Coalition aircrews feared it as the most common heavy anti-aircraft threat. Then KPV. Its 14.5mm round could reach aircraft at altitudes that smaller weapons could not. Iraqi anti-aircraft defenses depended heavily on it. Now this is the NSV, the modern Soviet heavy machine gun, found on Iraqi tanks, alongside the DSHK. Coalition forces encountered it on Iraqi T-72s throughout the ground campaign. SG-43 Goryanov, a World War II Soviet design still defending Iraqi fixed positions in 1991. Its age did nothing to reduce the threat it posed to attacking infantry. Type 67 machine gun. Chinese military exports to Iraq before the war put this general-purpose weapon into Iraqi hands. Coalition forces captured significant numbers during the ground advance. Up next, M134 minigun. Mounted on US Army helicopters during Desert Storm, its sustained rate of fire suppressed Iraqi ground positions in a way nothing else airborne could match. Let's move on to shotguns. Remington Model 870. The standard military shotgun during Desert Storm, used for base security and building clearance. Its simplicity kept it functioning when fine desert sand defeated other weapons. Mossberg 500. Issued alongside the Remington 870 for military police and security duties during the Gulf War. Soldiers valued its simple takedown and consistent performance in the field. Then, Mossberg 590, the military specification version of the 500. It was built specifically to pass US military testing and served throughout Desert Storm in security and entry roles. Ithaca 37. Its bottom ejection port was a genuine advantage in the Gulf War. Sand could not enter the action from the side and jam the mechanism at a critical moment. Next, Winchester Model 1200, a pump shotgun used for perimeter security and checkpoint duty throughout the Gulf War theatre. Its lightweight made extended patrols less demanding on security personnel. To wrap things up, grenade launchers and man-portable anti-armor. M203 grenade launcher. Attached beneath M16s throughout Desert Storm, it gave every infantry squad an organic explosive capability without adding another soldier to carry a dedicated launcher. Now this is the M79 grenade launcher, still present in some units during Desert Storm decades after Vietnam. Its dedicated grenadier concept had been absorbed into the M203, but a few remained in service. Mark 19 grenade launcher, mounted on Humvees and fighting vehicles throughout the coalition advance. It turned automatic grenade fire into a vehicle-mounted capability that devastated Iraqi infantry positions. RPG-7, the most common anti-armor weapon in the Iraqi military. Coalition tankers and vehicle crews knew it was the primary threat they would face throughout the ground campaign. RPG-18, a disposable Soviet rocket designed to give individual infantry a light armor capability. Iraqi soldiers carried them in large numbers throughout the Kuwait theatre. RPG-22, a more capable successor to the RPG-18. It offered greater penetration against the coalition's armored vehicles and was found throughout Iraqi defensive positions. Type 69 RPG. China supplied Iraq with this RPG-7 derivative before the war. It was indistinguishable in use from the Soviet original and equally dangerous to coalition vehicles. SPG-9. Mounted on Iraqi trucks and light vehicles throughout the theatre, this recoilless gun provided mobile anti-armor fire that threatened coalition vehicles well beyond RPG range. Next, M72 Law, a Vietnam-era disposable rocket still carried by US infantry during Desert Storm. Against Iraqi light vehicles and bunkers, it remained effective despite its age. AT-4. The modern replacement for the M72 Law was combat-proven for the first time during Desert Storm. Its improved penetration made it effective against Iraqi armored vehicles. SMAW. Marines used this shoulder-launched multi-purpose assault weapon throughout Desert Storm against Iraqi bunkers, fortifications, and the light armor that defended Kuwait. Law 80. British infantry carried this disposable launcher with its integral spotting rifle. The spotter rounds allowed the operator to confirm aim before committing the main rocket. Now this is the LRAC F1. French forces used this reusable 89mm launcher throughout Operation Daguet. Unlike disposable alternatives, it could engage multiple targets on a single mission. Apilas. Designed to defeat the frontal armor of Soviet main battle tanks, French forces brought it to Desert Storm, where Iraq fielded exactly those Soviet-supplied vehicles. The next one, M47 Dragon. US infantry carried this wire-guided missile throughout Desert Storm, despite its demanding operator skill requirements. The flat desert gave it the clear fields of fire it needed. Now this is the Milan. British and French forces used this wire-guided missile extensively during the ground campaign. Its precision made it the weapon of choice against Iraqi armored positions at range. Carl Gustaf 8.4cm recoilless rifle. Special Operations Forces carried this reusable launcher throughout Desert Storm for its flexibility. Different ammunition types let a single weapon engage armor, bunkers, and personnel.